Hello and welcome to our latest webinar, Go Sober for October amongst the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Matt Steinerthal, Managing Director of Entree Consultancy. We're a bespoke sales agency for innovative drink brands, hospitality technology companies, and service businesses in the UK on trade. I'm joined today by our strategic partner, Katie Moses, founder of Cam Media, who provide the data insights, trends, and content creation for UK hospitality and grocery retail channels. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, Matt. Thank you very much for inviting me to facilitate and host today's panel.
Thank you. And we're also joined by three of our clients, which are Freestar. We've got Felix von Herter, who's the co-founder. Hi, Felix.
Hey, Matt. How you doing?
Not too bad. Felix, just give us a bit of background about Freestar and what you guys are doing at the moment.
Yeah, so my name's Felix. I'm one of three founders of Freestar. I'm an alcohol-free beer that we launched in the UK last year. And we are creating an award-winning beer. We won the World Beer Award for the best low-alcohol beer in the UK. But we've also invented a new way of producing beer by blending instead of brewing ingredients, and the result is delicious, as I mentioned in the award, but also very sustainable. So we've actually reduced carbon emissions by 90%, energy usage by 80%, and our wastage by 70% versus all other beer production methods.
And you quite recently won the B Corp status for non-alcoholic beer.
Exactly, and as a result, our sustainability credentials led us to become the first world's first alcohol-free beer, which has been certified as a B Corp, and that's an independent accreditation which audits your entire business across not only your environmental impact as a business, but also the social impact. So the end result is that you have been judged to be a business as a force for good, leaving a positive impact on your social and environmental community.
Thanks, Felix. Next, we've got Ed Taylor, who is co-founder of Square Root Soda. Hello, Ed.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
To see you, Matt.
Give us some background on Square Root Soda.
Yeah, so we're a soft drinks manufacturer based in East London. We make and bottle a quite wide selection of alcohol-free drinks, anything from your kind of traditional lemonade, which is one of our top sellers, to more unusual things like our Negroni Spritz. So we've been operational for about 7 years now, and we sell mostly in the on-trade. So we sell into pubs, bars and restaurants all across the UK with a big focus on East London.
Thanks, Ed. And we've got Chris Banks, who's chair of the Cracker Drinks Company.
Hi, Matt. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Chris, give us some background on Cracker.
Well, we describe ourselves as having a healthy obsession for great tasting craft juice and juice drinks. So that's our thing. We're an independent British company. We've been around about 10 years, but we've been focusing, more recently, specifically on the notion of craft and trying to, in a sense, we want to lead a craft revolution in juice and juice drinks in the way that one of our directors has done in the beer business with Old Peculiar and Theakston. So think of us in that respect. We're aiming to do in juice and juice drinks what craft beer has done in beer, and we're delighted actually that just hot off the press, 3 of our products have been awarded the Great Taste Awards this year, which we're really pleased about, because fundamentally, at the end of the day, people have really got to enjoy it. And if you've got something that people love to drink, that's half the battle, isn't it? So yeah, good stuff. Our range is across the on-trade, particularly led by the brand, our signature range of juices, Cracker, and across the take-home and retail trade, led by our Crafted brand, which is blends of slightly more exotic flavors, which you might be able to refer to a little bit later on. And then we have a lightly sparkling apple juice drink called Newton's Apple Physics, which we describe as curiously refreshing because it contains 40% less sugar than apple juice on its own. But because we make it with appley apples, it's got a great appley taste as well. So that's our range.
Great, thanks, Chris. Katie, over to you to start the discussions.
Lovely. Thanks very much. First of all, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. It's wonderful to be discussing something like low and no. It's very close to my heart, and we've done quite a lot of research in this area as well. So I'm going to just talk around some of those findings as well today. One of the reports that we released back in January, which was focusing on low and no, told us that low and no was increasing at a rate of around 300%. In purchasing overall, so then obviously that's across on trade and off trade. We've also done another project just recently where we're just looking at the wider alcohol drinks market, and we know that people during lockdown were consuming alcohol, whether it's high or low, more often, but they were going for better quality, and when they were drinking less drinks in that one particular sitting. And also around 17% of the UK population were drinking lower ABV during lockdown. How do you think those trends that have been exacerbated by lockdown, how do you think those trends are going to affect the overall low and no market going forward? Does Ed, do you want to start us off with that? That's okay, if I can stick you straight on that spot.
Sure. Well, actually, during lockdown, I stopped drinking entirely. I've been moderating for a couple of years. So actually, during COVID, I thought, hang on a second, the last thing I need right now is to also have a hangover. And I think actually quite a lot of people I know did that too. I think we've been busier direct to consumer over lockdown. I mean, obviously we focus in the on trade. We can talk a little bit about that later. But I mean, our online store was really pounding. It was really busy. And the products that we're selling were things like the gin and tonic and the Negroni Spritz, which says something about what people were choosing to drink at home. So, I mean, from our perspective, in terms of personal experience, we definitely saw a switch towards people buying those types of products. And I would say after COVID, people there's research that says people are looking to be more health conscious. They're cutting down on sugar. They're cutting down on alcohol. It's going to increase or at least accelerate what's already been happening anyway. So I think it's more important than ever that on-trade venues are ready for that. And they're choosing good selections of products so that when people are coming to their venues, they can be buying these products.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Chris, what are your thoughts on how the current trends are going to affect the market going forward in the category?
Well, I think, sometimes you have wind in your face, don't you? And sometimes you have wind on your back. And I think that this category, the wider no and low category, plus the sort of more positive spin, which is drinks designed to be drunk on their own, great tasting, without the need for alcohol, rather than just, thinking of them as, a proper drink minus, but thinking of them as a proper drink in their own right, which is the positive thing. It is a huge opportunity, isn't it? Because, as you say, already 1 in 5 round numbers are teetotal, fastest group, according to ONS data, are the younger people. And I read somewhere, it may even have been one of your bits of research, I don't know, that something like 40% of all on-premise drinking occasions are alcohol-free.
Our exact research is that on an annual basis, 329 million pub visits are alcohol-free.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. That's an even bigger number. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to note that we're very often asked, yes, but low and no is great, but surely it's cannibalizing beer sales or it's cannibalizing soft drink sales. I think that it's really important that we understand that no, not necessarily.
No.
Because a lot of the people that would be asking for a glass of water are actually now thinking, well, I've got more options, I've got more to drink. Is that kind of where you sit?
I think it is, and I also think that during lockdown, of course, the nation's awareness of its health has gone right to the top of the agenda, hasn't it? On all things. So unsurprisingly, people are putting that as close to the top of the list. But great taste remains really, really important. And I don't know about you, but it's kind of sad, I think, when people will say, I don't know, 3 pints of beer and just a cola or just an orange or whatever it happens to be, as if we've given up. We know it's not going to be any good. We know we're going to have to compromise. And that's, in a sense, this opportunity that, these different brands and products different in their own way, are filling that that needs, to make it so it can be a positive choice. And it feels to me like if, as you say, if anything, the momentum is with us as a category, and continuing to accelerate. And I think the latest news and announcements from the government will only kind of support that. Do you know, Kate, it seems to me, just one thing, if people are going to be spending a bit less time in the pub in particular, we do need to make sure that when they go there, they really enjoy it. They get a great product, a great experience, and go away saying, that was actually really, really, really good. Because again, they're a little bit more discerning now than they were when they could go anytime they liked, any day of the week, with whoever they wanted to. So let's make, it's our job between us, I think, to make it count.
And Felix, from your point of view, that looking at the trends that have occurred during lockdown, where do you see that leaving us in the long run with this particular category and the consumers that are now partaking in low and no?
Well, I think a lot of people did what I did in lockdown, which was essentially, so at Freestyle we're not evangelical about not drinking. We're not teetotal. None of us are, not the founders, not the people who work at Freestyle. You're allowed to be teetotal and work for Freestyle, of course, but we're not. We believe in a balanced lifestyle, and it's just about freedom of choice, And so what happened to me in lockdown, first week, I really needed to kind of delineate the kind of start and end of the day. And I was actually drinking an alcoholic beer, an alcoholic drink most nights. And it suddenly became a bit overwhelming. And I realized actually it wasn't going to be a short lockdown. And so actually went the other way, became really healthy, started exploring kombuchas and all sorts of other drinks as well. And we see that trend across quite a lot of people, especially in London. We did some research as well at the end of lockdown to understand that behavior. And essentially, there was a huge increase in that kind of healthy mind, healthy body attitude and lifestyle. And there's certainly been a correction back towards drinking more alcohol afterwards, but that correction hasn't gone as far down. And there's definitely maintained a much higher base level of, kind of conscious, balanced lifestyle and drinking as a result of lockdown. And that's great because it means that people are exploring the category. It means that people are, especially within, e-commerce, having new, they're actually taking a punt on drinks they never tried before. Purchasing online, we saw a huge uplift in e-commerce sales and Ocado sales over lockdown. So there's been I think a kind of a real exploration of the category, and it hasn't just died away after lockdown. It's maintained.
Excellent, thank you. I think you're completely right there when you speak about and I think, Chris, you mentioned it as well, is that people are now more interested and more focused on their health and keeping healthy, whether that's so that you can recover better if you do catch the virus, or whether that's just about that we've had that chance to be a little bit more introspective and to really look at exactly what we're doing with ourselves and with our bodies. A couple of stats for you. When we released our low and no report in January, we asked people when you do drink low or no alcohol beverages, why do you choose to do that? And the stats I've got here, so 47%, it's a multiple choice, 47% said health, 45% said, well, it saves me money. But 33% said because of my weight as well. So, apart from the money one, we are looking at health generally. So we have seen that lockdown has been a positive for the category. We've seen that lockdown has been a positive for the drinking habits of the majority of people in the UK. The less said about the odd Saturday night, the better. But what challenges, and obviously, Ed, for you, one of the major challenges was the fact that pubs and bars closed, and you're primarily on trade, if I'm correct. So what other challenges has lockdown thrown up for you guys as companies and as a category overall? Chris, do you want to start?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Sorry, go ahead. Go on, off you go.
I thought because you were talking to me before you wanted to speak. I do apologise. I suppose the problem we had, or at least the challenge that we faced, is that we'd made lots of plans for the summer. There's lots of drinks we were planning to launch into the on-trade. There was lots of activations, events, collaborations, and all of those things kind of had to be paused a little bit. We do a lot of work, out there in the world at festivals, and I suppose the interesting challenge that we faced was how do we engage people remotely? So there was a lot of this type of activity. We did virtual tours of the factory. We did lots of virtual tastings. We just recently did a campaign to develop our next alcohol-free flavour, we probably would have done that at events, but we did that in the online space. So it's been about shifting online to be able to talk to people about what they like, and then also just get products to them. So, you know, upregulating our online store sales has been really important for us, because at the end of the day, the bars closed. It was lovely because people were like, my local place is closed, I can't buy your brand. And they were just coming straight to us, which was incredible. Like it was really amazing to feel we had that support. But then I suppose the challenge is how that continues now as the on-trade opens or closes, or just be ready to be flexible. We've got to be more flexible than ever, because we don't know, there could be an announcement tomorrow and the whole game's changed. So that's the challenge.
Unfortunately, nobody knows whether that's going to happen or not. Guys, Chris and Felix, you know, what were the challenges that lockdown and COVID threw up for you immediately?
Well, shall I have a go? I mean, it was our business, as I mentioned earlier, is sort of balanced between the on-trade and the retail trade, and the difference, the challenges couldn't have been more different, but they were both challenging. So in the on-trade, it came to a shuddering halt pretty quickly, didn't it? Where it felt like you couldn't, you know, no one wanted anything for a period, and you know, understandably, as everything stopped down. On the other hand, in the retail trade, the biggest challenge was keeping up and getting the delivery slots. I mean, it sounds really sort of operational and practical, but we were hearing from our haulier even the other day that levels now into the retail trade are the highest they've ever been.
Wow.
So, and people are really struggling physically to get that number of trucks into that, you know, number of slots or deliveries. So very, very different operational challenges, coming to a halt on the other, and then holding on long enough to be there, to be ready to start up again. And it was great to see, of course, as soon as the brakes were taken off and it was possible for people to start opening pubs and restaurants and bars, they started doing tentatively at first. And it was great to see the people coming back and the product starting to flow through. Meanwhile, I think there've been some big shifts. And one of the big retailers was saying the other day that they've achieved year 8 of their 10-year online development plan within the first year. And they've now got to write another plan, but it doesn't show any signs of reducing. So, you know, individual companies have been trying to pivot, as we've been saying, and have a slightly different model or whatever. Actually, the whole industry's pivoted.
Yeah.
And with a lot of it towards, you know, an increase to take home, which and home delivery, which actually suits us, where we have products that are quite heavy to carry and relatively low value in compared with you know, bottles of spirit or equivalent. So big challenges across the both. But we made the decision early on that we weren't going to be a victim of this. We were going to try and, you know, we would survive and we would find our way through it, focus on those opportunities that there were there, and just about make it.
And Felix, presumably the challenges for Freestar were similar as Ed and Chris are saying.
Yeah, I mean, we were, I mean, our business before lockdown was about 50-50 on-trade. We had a listing with Sainsbury's and Ocado. You know, we had our products on Amazon, but we were growing faster in the on-trade. So that kind of growth, you know, came to a shuddering halt, as Chris said. And our big challenge was actually accelerating our online plans. Yeah, we had e-commerce ambitions, but they were kind of slated for the summer, and we just basically had to accelerate that. So we built a Shopify site for about 400 quid, and started selling on that. We you know, started creating digital adverts and putting the word out there through you know, paid social, and then the other big kind of challenge, I guess, was actually it was kind of, yeah, a bit like Ed had said. You know, we had all these big festival plans, these big activations, amazing kind of, you know, marketing activity, brand awareness campaigns, and it's like, okay, then what do you actually do? What can you do? What can you prepare for? How flexible can you be? And, you know, it's a lot of kind of rabbit in the headlights kind of you know, a lot of brands just didn't know what to do, where to look, and there was no good answer really. But, you know, yeah, we started doing things virtually. We started doing giveaways and partnering with other brands. We started doing, you know, really working our PR team to actually try and actually get the brand awareness out there through earned media, and in the end, yeah, I came through it. But it's kind of scary because you don't, you know, it doesn't matter how many business schools you go to or, you know, whatever, you can't prepare yourself for that kind of thing, and it will hit every business at a different period of their life cycle, and you'll have different challenges. The only lucky thing that we had is that we didn't have any employees at that stage, and we didn't have an office at that stage, so we had no overhead. So as founders, we could just, you know, we could just cut out any kind of small salary that we were taking and essentially just hunker down and just focus on what we could do basically from behind our laptops at home. So yeah, it was relatively in the grand scheme of things lucky in that regard.
Yes, well, I must say the phrase "rabbit in the headlights" and "scary" are two I'm very aware of, being a founder and business owner myself. Okay, I'd really like to talk about, as a researcher, one of the things that we're always really interested in is what we call occasions. So what occasion is the consumer purchasing the product for? So, you know, is it a quiet night in? Is it a big night out? Is it, you know, we've identified that what COVID and lockdown has created is 2 new drinking occasions. The first one being outdoor in the park, where, you know, I don't think they're that new. I mean, I was drinking in parks when I was 15, but, you know, actually adults meeting up as friends and drinking in parks, you know, that's a whole new occasion. And the other one, of course, being the Zoom, other video conferencing facilities are available, the sort of Zoom drinks with your friends. So whether that's doing a pub quiz online, or whether it's just getting drunk with a couple of girlfriends, or whether it's not drinking with a couple of your mates, you know, whatever that might be. How does Low and No fit in to those 2 occasions in your mind? Ed, do you want to start us off? Sorry, I keep coming to you first. I'll go to someone else next. Feel free to butt in, guys.
Yeah, okay, no worries. So drinking in the park, I think RTD type products work quite well for that type of occasion. We've always, you know, I've been quite a fan of like a Radler or a Shandy in the park, or an alcohol-free beer, our G&T, anything like that. I suppose that is an occasion which has definitely been really popular in the summer. So any kind of summery drinks, anything fruity, fizzy, you know, Chris's drinks as well, those do suit those types of occasions. Anything that can be a single, like, serving is going to fit for that, because people are generally going to bring it. They might not be bringing a cup with them. They're just going to drink it straight out of the package. We've definitely seen a lot of other brands which have been capitalizing on that occasion. I mean, we've also worked to do quite a lot of activations in parks over the summer. Drinking at home is a funny one. There's been a few businesses which have started up that are like date night boxes. There's a prominent one called Box 42 that's just launched. They're doing great guns. You know, that's the idea that you could have, I mean, it's more of a couples thing, but the idea that you could get a box in and then sort of share it. We did quite a few of those Zoom call pub quizzes ourselves. A lot of friends just went down to the supermarket, raided a kind of a selection of products, and came back, and it was a, you know, who'd got the coolest kind of brand? Obviously us, you know, just joking. You know, who's got the best selection of drinks? Who's drinking this cool thing? It was kind of like that was part of it was almost like you'd gone out and found something to drink, to share, to talk about. Because I suppose if you are drinking at home, then the rules are kind of off. It's totally fine to do a beer Shandy with an alcohol-free beer and a normal beer, or, you know, you can make your own cocktail or non-alcoholic cocktail up. So I think that's a great occasion for experimentation. You know, you can discover new drinks at home, maybe adding bitters to something, you know, making a cocktail out of different unusual fruit juices, and actually find out what it is that you want, so that when you then go out, you can be a little bit more discerning and assertive about what you're actually asking for at the bar. I mean, you know, I am a beer Shandy drinker. People might think that's completely crazy, but, you know, it's actually pretty good. If you've got an alcohol-free beer on tap and a beer on tap, you can make yourself a low ABV very easily. That might be crazy, you know. I mean, any flavour Shandy is possible with almost any beer. So I would say, yeah, that's how I see those things.
Okay, and Felix, what about you? How do those 2 new drinking occasions fit in with sort of your plans going forward, as well as the category as a whole?
Yeah, so I mean, we have cans, which is really helpful for those for the outdoor occasion, and yeah, we saw. I mean, obviously the weather in lockdown was insane, and so, you know, we saw a lot of people actually. We actually got our kind of like summer content. You know, we actually brought that forward to April because it was just so warm, and you know, you could really sell that. We call it thermoreactive marketing when we basically put out that summer content, and especially with paid social, it was great. And we have a
that's
yeah,
great.
You just need to be ready to go whenever there's a heat wave, you know, which is kind of feels like all the time at the moment, especially if you're selling cold beers. But yeah, so that was great, and we, you know, what we saw actually is that you know, those Zoom dates really, they weren't very conscious of the day of the week that they happened. You know, they would happen on a Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, yes, there were some Friday drinks and stuff like that, but essentially there was people doing pub quizzes on a Monday or whatever. You know, it was kind of agnostic of the day of the week. So there was a lot of people who actually wanted to cheers to their mates, cousins, or whoever they were catching up with without alcohol, because it was still kind of midweek and they were being good. And so, yeah, we felt that actually we could try and do a bit of a activation with that, and push Freestar as a kind of the perfect midweek Zoom beer. So we created some Zoom backgrounds. You know, I don't know if you saw, people had quite a lot of fun with those, and allowed people to download them from our website, and kind of brought Freestar into that occasion by giving people a bit of an engaging experience that you could do for free. And, you know, I mean, it was fun. It was just a bit of fun. Social media really got a bit of engagement, but yeah, totally. I mean, it was a huge occasion for a lot of people. I mean, my wife sells jewelry, and it's really colorful earrings, and she had her biggest ever months in lockdown because people wanted to look great on Zoom. You know,
Yeah, you don't want to be a trouser manufacturer, do you, in the current climate?
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Felix. And Chris, what about you? Presumably, again, with the weather, the park occasion was positive for you?
I think generally with weather, it makes us the best marketers in the world, doesn't it? So when the sun shines, this is the sort of thing that you reach for. Our business historically has been all litre pour and serve. So litre cartons, pour and serve. But it just so happens that this year we brought out a 330ml pack with a resealable closure, which was rather helpful for actually
perfect timing
for some pubs and indeed for people on the go. And we have the other juice drinks in a 330 resealable format as well. So that has been good for us. No question about that. I think you're right, Ed. The take-home or the at-home occasion, it comes back to your point that if 300, did you say 390 million?
329 million.
329 million pub occasions. Well, you can imagine then quite a lot of those Zoom meeting occasions could also be either completely or contain an element of alcohol-free. So it's a big opportunity, isn't it? And if we can, via social media in particular, if we can continue to encourage people to experiment a little bit, and not just say to people, you know, come to the Zoom with your best cocktail idea, which I know lots of people are doing, but actually come to the meeting with or the equivalent with your best cocktail, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. But people do, I think, and it's our job really to give a few ideas, isn't it? Create a few leads, and it just as Ed was doing with a bit of variety. And funnily enough, you can take two very simple ingredients, add them together and create something completely different, where people say, I've never tasted that combination before. And that gets you away from the non-alcoholic or the no or low being a sort of poor alternative, distress purchase, being into something that is, wow, we really enjoyed that. And we learned something from it. So social media, I think, is the key to all of this, as Felix was saying. And that's been a huge factor during the summer. I'm sure will continue during the autumn tightening as well.
Yeah, Well, we now find ourselves in a situation where pubs and bars are open. We also, of course, have Go Sober for October coming up, which is the Macmillan initiative to make people give up alcohol, or request that people give up alcohol. And this year I thought it was very interesting as well, because they see, you know, it used to be like, do the whole of October, otherwise you're going to be, you know, vilified for not completing it. And now I see they've snuck the messaging of, well, just do as much as you can into their marketing, which I think is great, because there will be people that don't feel they want to do a whole month. They might want to do 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever that might be. We also, of course, have Dryjanuary. Now, I know there's a lot of comment within the on-trade specifically about how both of those particular initiatives can damage the pub industry, but we've just heard that 329 pub visits don't contain any, a million don't contain any alcohol. We also know from CAM research that we did back in January that 36% of people that we spoke to, and that was 1,000 sort of pub, bar and restaurant goers, told us they were going to try one or the other or both. So that's a massive amount of the population that, you know, 36% were going to be trying to give up alcohol, giving up alcohol in either of those particular occasions. So how does Low and No make a difference to the on-trade for those particular initiatives? Felix, do you want to start us off there? I'll give Ed a break for this time.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, we you know, you mentioned the kind of the Macmillan messaging around, you know, give it a try. That's very much in line with the way that we, you know, communicate or, you know, sell kind of the lifestyle of balanced drinking. We believe that actually, you know, it's quite unnatural to go a month, or, you know, some people do a whole year without drinking for a lot of people. And actually most people are looking to cut down, but actually if there are better alcohol-free options available to them in the on-trade in that social evening moment, then it would be a lot easier for them to switch between alcohol and alcohol-free. And actually we believe in a lifestyle where, you know, actually you'll go to the bar and you might not have decided yet what ABV you want your drink to be. You'll just decide based on flavor and experience. Okay, it's hot, I want some bubbles, something cold, or like, you know, I'm with an old friend, I want, you know, let's actually get a couple of whiskeys in, you know. And actually the kind of the occasion defines the drink that you have, as opposed to just being binary about being alcoholic or non-alcoholic. And that attitude, we believe, is much more akin to the way that, you know, veganism has become more mainstream with flexitarianism. So, you know, I personally will not eat meat on certain days, but I'm not vegan or vegetarian. And that approach to drinking is the way that we believe that actually this category will explode, is because there'll be a phenomenal range of alcohol-free drinks. They won't be relegated to the back of the fridge behind the bar. They'll be on display, and very much, you know, you're already seeing the more progressive establishments having no and low menus and sections of menus, and you might have the ABV down next to the prices. You know, that was never really done before. So there's definitely great movements in that way. And then the last kind of piece of the puzzle really is that, you know, the kind of stigma around not drinking starts to fade away. And actually it's no longer uncool to be not partaking, because there are brands out there which have the same stature as alcohol. They've got the same values, they have the same energy, the same dynamism. You know, they don't offer a compromise at that moment by being, you know, apologetic or, you know, kind of underserviced by the marketing team of some macro beer or whatever it is, you know. So it's a kind of a bit of both, but the demand's there and the brands are there. It's now just about kind of bringing it all together so that, you know, people have that choice wherever they go.
Thank you. Ed, what are your thoughts on that? How can Low and No sort of support the on-trade in those times where we've got Dryjanuary and we've got Go Sober for October?
So I guess the truth of the matter is you can still make a good GP, a great GP on alcohol-free drinks. You know, you mentioned earlier at the start, if someone's going into the pub and you're not offering a good selection of alcohol-free products, they're more likely to get a water or a lime and soda. It's not just the stocking, it's also the merchandising. It's like what Felix said, if you've got good menus, if you've got product on display, we don't want a drink hidden under the counter, warm, out of sight. That was traditionally where the bottles of lemonade lived. You want them in the fridge, on display, well merchandised in the venue, so that when someone comes in, they can come up to the bar and they don't go, soda water with lime, and then they've suddenly only spent £1.50 with you. You want them to spend £4.50 on an alcohol-free cocktail or a pint. Do you know, it's that opportunity to upsell and make sure that you're accessing those consumers, because they're coming to your venue, and if you're not offering them a product that they want, they're not going to come back. I know that for certain. My partner Robin doesn't drink, and if we go somewhere and they don't have a great alcohol-free selection, it's basically just off the list. Yeah. And we just won't go there. And also, if you have these decision makers within groups of people socializing, maybe one of your 6 that's currently sitting in the pub, if they're not being served well, they're going to nag to get everyone to go somewhere else. And so I think, it isn't something to be afraid of. This is a movement being driven by consumers for the first time. Yeah. This isn't being driven by the companies working with the industry to get stuff to happen. The consumers are saying, I've actually changed. I am not drinking as much. What have you got for me? You're supposed to be a hospitality service. That's it. I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. Just get a good selection.
Glass of water, yeah. And I think you're absolutely right, Ed. And Chris, you mentioned earlier that in your mind, a lot of what you guys do is about experience. So it's not just, it's about taste, it's about experience. It's not, we need to almost focus a little bit less on the fact that it's non-alcoholic and look more at the experience. So presumably having a good alcohol-free or low and no range, which by the way, 66% of publicans that we interviewed as part of that low and no report in January told us that they had increased their low and no range in the last 12 months. So presumably having that a bigger and better low and no range helps to add to the on-trade experience. So therefore would still encourage people to come through in those 2 months where people are possibly cutting down on what they're drinking.
I think that's right. Taking these non-alcoholic drinks as seriously as the alcoholic drinks is what it's all about, isn't it? Being on the front foot. It would be possible for a publican to think, well, I don't do very well in October, so I won't try. If you see what I mean, because people are becoming, drinking less. But wouldn't it be a shame if that were the case? Let's get on the front foot. What we've designed. I've got 2 things I might just show you. One is a leaflet, a menu. I'm not sure whether you can see that, but that's try one of our delicious craft juice and juice drinks with a menu of all the different alternatives, like it would be if it was a wine or beer or any other category. So I think that's part of it, and treating it, getting on the front foot. The other thing is, can I steal 30 seconds to show you a practical example of what I'm talking about, which is it's about the effort that goes into and the thought that goes into presenting a drink. Look, I've got 2 glasses of these happen to be crafted mango and passion fruit. They're identical sizes. There's no clever magic about it at all. I'm just going to.
This one I did earlier, isn't it?
Well, I would have done it earlier, but I thought the ice might have melted. But if you see, so you take those 2 and you put one of them into a glass of ice. It just fits. Now, which do you think looks more appetizing, interesting, value added? Would you say? And that's the only difference is in the serve. And that's before you put the swizzle sticks and the umbrellas and the big piece of fruit and everything else. It's simply about saying, come on, let's move from presenting it like that with a couple of pieces of ice into doing the same that the guys would do with a gin and, large gin and tonic or equivalent, and recognize that then looks like a much more appetizing drink, exactly the same quantity, but you're much more likely to come back and have a second. So I think a lot of it is about encouraging that sort of, positive approach. These are positive upsell opportunities. And I can't resist the temptation, Ed, I'm sorry you gifted it to me, which was 60% of the population of lime and soda drinkers, if you say to them, when they order a lime and soda, would you like a posh one in a bottle made with real soda water and real squeezed lime juice? 60% will say yes, please.
Mm.
And it's not then a 40p or a £1.40 purchase. It's a premium purchase alongside, you know, your beverages or others. And so I think a lot of it is just about being imaginative and positive about the opportunity, rather than even as a trade regarding it as a sort of the poor relation, because it isn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to start looking at the category in the same ways that we would look at an alcoholic category, whether that's craft beer, whether that's gin, you know, the massive gin boom that we've had recently. And it's about the marketing, it's about the messaging we're getting out there, it's about the service, it's about the experience. The no alcohol bit is kind of by the by in lots of ways. I mean, you know, when you order a Coca-Cola, you don't focus on the fact that it's got no alcohol in it, do you? You focus on the experience, you know. So I think you're absolutely right, and I think there's some absolutely fantastic flavors and opportunities and options out there for the category. Matt, I think we've reached the point of doing some tasting, have we not? So I will thank the three of you for such stimulating conversation, and I've learned a lot about the category and your products myself today. So everybody should go out and purchase from Freestar, from Square Root Cider, and from Cracker Drinks. And I'll hand back to you, Matt, for you to run some testing.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Thanks, Katie. It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
start with you. I think, and you can explain it better than I can, Cracker, it's only available in the on-trade.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a positive as well, actually. So you can't go and buy this in the supermarkets. And this actually, that product you got there, Matt, is one of those that's won the Great Taste Award as well. So it's just a very, very good pressed 100% pressed apple juice, not from concentrate, with a copy on the pack aimed at the bartender rather than aimed at the consumer, because she or he will be the person who reads it. Yeah. So that would be a good example of a pour and serve option. Yeah.
And then we're gonna do a taster with the Newtons and the Posh Lime and Soda. Which one should we try first, Chris?
I would probably try the Posh Lime and Soda. Give it a wake, shake to wake, because unlike lime and soda that you get in a pub, which is fizzy tap water with lime cordial, this is real lime juice, and of course it tends to have a little bit of we've got bits in it. So real lime juice. Actually, this lime juice comes from Mexico, because it seemed to me that was a good place to get your.
If it's good enough for the guacamole, then it's good enough for your drink.
Exactly, and you can taste it's real soda water, because it's got that bicarbonate of soda in it so you've got no more calories than, because a lot of people drink lime and soda because it's low calorie. It's got no more calories than lime and water and cordial, but none of the preservatives, sugar, and colouring and nasties that you tend to get in that sort of product. And as I say, because if you imagine again that you serve it in a coupe or a glass with lots and lots of ice and a garnish, and all of a sudden that's a $3.50 opportunity rather than a 50p for the cordial. And
it goes down really smoothly, I must say.
Nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Then we've got
looks and tastes different. Newton's is 60% apple juice, 40% sparkling water, and you'll see, Matt, we select the apples to be really appley, so when you drink it, it's got a good, strong, crisp apple taste, but 40% less sugar. And who needs the other 40%? And the answer is no one. So we find this is popular in the take-home business and indeed in pubs. And the fact that it happens to look like a cider in the glass is a positive as well for those who are worried about, making sure that they don't stand out when they're in the pub.
You can really taste the apples, which is great.
Yeah. And less sugar. So that's all good, isn't it?
Much better.
Thanks, Matt.
Cool. Chris, we've got two products. We've got the Negroni Spritz. Sorry, Ed. We got the Negroni Spritz and the non-alcoholic gin and tonic.
Yeah, fantastic.
What should we do first, Ed?
Let's do the G&T first.
Okay.
I've just had to dash into the office because my laptop suddenly ran out of battery. So I'm just having one of my colleagues run the bottles back over to me now. So
You've had a Felix moment.
yeah, one of those. I've got our super secret new mojito, which is coming out.
I've not even seen that yet.
It doesn't exist yet. This is fresh off the bottling line right now. But we should try the G&T first.
Great. So I've had this before. So explain a bit about the product, how you came about to create it, and what goes inside.
Sure. So this was one that was created originally in partnership with a pub group, Draft House. And it was really successful, so we decided to roll it out as a regular product, which we made. It's made using a steam distilled selection of botanicals, so it's actually got gin botanicals in it, but we distill them in-house. So we'll do an extraction overnight followed by the steam distillation. So that gives you all of the kind of coriander, cardamom, lemon peel, dried lime, all of those kind of aromatics. It's got a classic lemongrass tonic base to it, which again, it's one of our kind of bespoke tonics. And it's meant to be an RTD kind of ready replacement if you're looking to kind of skip around in a bar, basically. I'm just going to pop one myself. It's got a little bit of the garnish information on it as well. So we suggest you pour it out into a nice glass with ice, a slice of grapefruit. It's exactly what Chris said. It's all about that presentation. You don't just want to neck it out of the bottle. And then we've also got the Negroni Spritz. So the non-alcoholic Negroni Spritz was the second one in the range. After the success of the G&T, we decided to kind of branch out a little bit. So it's got a slightly different steam distilled extract in it. It's got a couple of different red fruit berries. It's got a little bit of pink grapefruit in there. And again, we recommend you serve it with a slice of orange. The thing about the Negroni is you have that sort of bitter taste, kind of the complex bitter taste, and then the deceiving smell of fresh orange at the same time. So that's one of the kind of cool things about that cocktail. And to kind of get the best effect, you want that slice of fresh orange that goes with the Negroni Spritz mix in the bottle here.
And it's vegan friendly as well.
Sorry?
It's vegan friendly.
Yes, everything we make is vegan friendly.
Fantastic.
Mm.
I'm very excited for all the products that I've got to try this weekend. I might even get you Friday night wine. Or could you put a shot of gin in these? I suppose you could, couldn't you?
I mean, there's nothing to stop you. Once it's in the comfort of your own home, you're totally gravy. I mean, we've tried to keep that complexity in there. They are balanced and they're ready to drink. You know, we do also do a range of tonic waters, which are quite interesting, bespoke tonics.
Oh, okay, interesting. Let's try those.
You want to give us a sneak peek, Ed, on your newest product?
So the mojito. So we basically did this big consumer engagement piece where we worked with Sober Girls Society to basically ask the question, what do you miss since you gave up alcohol? What kind of cocktail do you miss? And we kind of had this very open discussion with them and with their followers. And what came back from that was a kind of selection of 3 different cocktails. We had a highball, we had a mojito, and a margarita. We put the information on LinkedIn if people want to have a little look, with a couple of the other sort of popular named cocktails that people were looking for. We then put mojito, margarita, and highball up against each other on a public vote. Once the samples came in over the course of sort of 3 or 4 days, it was really clear that mojito was the winner. We then did another round of voting where we said, do you want classic? Do you want sort of ginger? Do you want a green tea mojito? And everyone just said, keep it classic. And so we said, cool. The first batch has come off the line this morning. It's going out to a couple of people that we're working with to kind of get initial feedback. And then the product's going to come to market in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Amazing.
We're going to have the mojito out there. Yeah.
Can't wait to try it.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Me neither.
Awesome. And Felix, I've got 2 formats. I've got a can in front of me, and I've got a bottle.
Yes, they are the same. They are the same product. Yeah, we focused exclusively on one product to begin with. We are making what we call a IPA style lager with it's got a very citrusy hop, so it's got this really lovely kind of citrusy edge to it. Our ambition with Freestar was to create a liquid which was going to actually break down that kind of tired stigma of alcohol-free beer. So a lot of people, as I've mentioned, have had a bad experience with alcohol-free beer in the past. It has got a stigma attached to it. And so we wanted to create something that was not just going to be a bad mimic of a beer, but actually be something delicious and have its own identity and be something that can stand on its own 2 feet. So we've blended natural ingredients, as I said, 2 different hops. We've got malted barley, and because we're not fermenting or adding any yeast and there's no alcohol created, we're actually adding some other natural ingredients, like kind of secret sauce, to create that complexity that might be there instead of alcohol. So the result is really refreshing. It's light, it's crisp, it's fresh. It's got a really lovely adult bitter finish, just like a beer. It's really Moorish, but it's really accessible. So, you know, a lot of the response that we get when people try Freestyle is like, oh, I never really liked alcohol-free beer before, but I like that. And so it kind of, it's almost, yeah, it's built like a soft drink, you know, walks and talks like a beer. But the result is really flavorful. And yeah, as I said, within 3 months of launch, we won the World Beer Award for the best alcohol-free beer in the UK. So we've got really kind of validation for the process and the approach early days, which was awesome.
And it's a true 0% ABV as well.
Yeah, so no alcohol produced, no alcohol removed at 0.0. And so, yeah, so we're actually working on getting our halal certification, and starting to look at exporting into markets at the Middle East, because, yeah, we can do things in those markets that no one else can do, because we haven't got any alcohol in the process whatsoever.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Felix.
No worries.
The time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on this webinar. I think it was very insightful. Thank you, Katie, for hosting the discussion. Chris and Ed and Felix, thank you very much. We'll see you again on another webinar.
Look forward to it.
Nice one.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having us.
guys.
Have a
Thanks
great
so
day.
much, guys.